Welcome back to a timey-wimey pod where we watch every episode of Doctor Who from 2005 onwards. My name's Rebecca.
I'm Haley.
Today we are discussing Series 1, Episode 12, Bad Wolf, the last episode before the finale.
That is so insane. I cannot believe we are already here and
I
already talking about
know.
this episode.
I'm not ready, guys. We're actually just going to do Series 1 over and over again and not
Yeah.
talk about any other episodes.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. You've come to the podcast that will be
This
eternally
is
about
the
Series 1.
the Doctor Who Series 1 podcast. Thank you for coming.
It's no longer a timey-wimey pod. It is a timey-wimey for series only pod.
Yep.
That's the only
A
thing I could
series.
come up with that fast. There is an elephant in the room. I do want to
Oh.
say we do pre-record these episodes. So by the time this episode premieres, it will be a couple weeks in the future for
It
us.
will be old news, but for us, it's new news.
And that news is the man, the legend, Stephen Moffat is coming back to Doctor Who.
He's coming back, y'all. He's coming. He's writing one episode in the upcoming season with Shuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson.
If you would have told me like a year ago, I would not have believed you.
Also, we will be discussing the new season as episodes come out. So stay tuned for that. Come May.
We will. We're planning on doing Parting of the Ways after this episode, and then we're going to do a bonus episode after that. And in that bonus episode, we'll talk a little bit more in detail about our plans. But yeah, Stephen Moffat returning is new news to us. And we also got the announcement of the release date for the new season.
May 10th or 11th? I forget.
I think it's May 11th.
May 11th.
So yeah, that was the elephant in the room. I just couldn't continue on without talking about it.
No, it's fair. I'm really excited. I like Stephen Moffat's writing. Not everyone does. That's fair, but you have to acknowledge that the episodes he wrote, especially when Russell T Davies was the showrunner, are iconic and some of the best episodes of New Who. Blink is one of his episodes considered the best episode of the show. I disagree, but we'll get to that later. But you have to respect it.
Yes, 100%. And I'm just so excited for this new season and to just learn about all the quirks and everything about the 15th Doctor and more about Ruby Sunday's backstory. And I'm just really looking forward to new content after a couple of I mean, yes, we have the 60th. But like a regular full series. It's been a little bit.
Definitely. It's been a minute. Are you ready for some fantastic facts about Bad Wolf?
Yes.
So, the original title for this episode was Game Show World. Good title, but I'm glad they changed it to Bad Wolf because I'm just glad that they did.
No shade to them. That's not a good title. I disagree. Game Show World. It's just like
It's a
not
little
very
cheesy, actually.
yeah. It's a little
Yeah.
uninspiring. So I'm glad they changed it because Bad Wolf is way more fitting, obviously.
My next fantastic fact is that we have the first mention of Torchwood in this episode during The Weakest Link.
Yeah, I noticed that this episode and I always forget. So it's a fun little
Mm-hmm.
Easter egg.
Little Easter egg. My last fantastic fact for today is that Davina McCall, who is so connected to the Doctor Who universe now, weirdly, she's the voice of the UK Big Brother house, I guess. Apologies, UK Big Brother fans. I haven't seen UK Big Brother. But she recorded the voiceover for this episode during a 15-minute break from Big Brother, the actual show. She was able to record these voiceovers for the episode, which is really funny. And the Big Brother house that they film in this episode is actually just a flat in Cardiff.
That's so funny.
I know. I love the concept of this episode. I feel like killer reality game shows has become pretty popular in the last few years with Squid Games, and Doctor Who was doing it back in 2005. Like, these concepts are so good. They took reality shows that were in the real world or world everyone knows, and they put like a killer dark twist on them. And I just think this concept for this episode is so good, and it's well executed, because sometimes you can have a good concept but a bad execution, and I think they did the execution really well.
They did it so good. And with you mentioning things like Squid Games, I immediately thought also of the Hunger Games,
Yes,
which
I
is
have that in my
just
notes. This really reminds
okay.
me of Hunger Games.
Me too. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. The concept of killer games in real life is horrific, but
Yeah.
fictionally, I really enjoy that in shows and movies. It's just really interesting to see, and this concept for me in this episode is really fun. What is not fun is people dying. I just want to make that clear. But
Yes.
it's just very fascinating, and in this episode, I just love the concepts, especially with Big Brother, because Big Brother, I went in a little internet rabbit hole last night. Big Brother premiered in 1999 in the Netherlands, and then it took off and then spread internationally. So by 2005, when this episode aired, Big Brother had been on for a while, but it's wild to think that Big Brother has been on longer now than it was back then. And it's probably even bigger now than it was back in 2005.
Yeah, I thought that was so interesting, and the fact that all the contestants for this, like, it's the way Linda with a Y talks about Earth during this time is so interesting to me. Contestants don't sign up for these games. They're randomly selected, which very Hunger Games esque, and people have no choice really but to watch these programs because there's smoke and they literally can't go outside without suffocating, and they don't get anything. The winners don't even get any money. They just get to live. And there's like 60 Big Brother games going on at a time, and then like dozens and dozens and dozens of other like crazy killer game shows. It's insane. This world, this concept, so interesting to me. What there's a lot of side characters in this episode, more than like
Yeah.
we normally see, and they get to kind of carry on into Parting of the Waves. What do you think about the side characters we meet, like Linda with a Y, and the people that work at the game station?
So, Lynda with a Y, I'm gonna be so honest.
Oh,
Originally, my first time watching this, I was very threatened, feeling like she was coming for Rose's place. But now, I'm not threatened at all. And I really, really enjoy her character. And she's really sweet and she was well written. And I really like that she tags along with the doctor. The people in the game station, that one lady and that man, I low key ship them.
me too. And they have some great moments in the next episode. And I love Linda with a Y. You know who's a side character I don't like? Freaking Roderick on the android. That guy sucks.
He could have been a little bit nicer.
Definitely. The way when he wins and laughs in Rose's face, no, no.
Yeah, that is gross. That's no. Mm-mm.
One moment I wanted to talk about is when Nine is talking to Linda with a Y, and he's recalling when Jack, and Rose all got separated after their trip to Rexicola Laboratorius. They were going to go to 1936 Japan, and I just think we were robbed of Nine, Jack, and Rose in 1936 Japan, and I would like to be compensated, please.
No, they had gone there. It wasn't that they were going to
Oh,
go there. They had already gone there.
we
So we
were
were fully
robbed.
robbed. We were robbed of them in Kyoto. Can't I would have like loved to see it. so much.
Ugh.
Also, I don't
I
think it was
also
1936, girly.
it was, I wrote it down.
I
Oh,
wrote
it
it
was
down that it
1336. I just can't read my own
okay.
notes.
We were robbed, and it's a tragedy.
I also love the image of Rose like slipping away, being transmitted somewhere, and like Nine just see. I don't know. I love that image.
Can we talk about how she's reaching for the doctor as
I
she's being taken by the
know.
transmat beam?
And that's the last thing Nine remembers seeing. Oh, so good.
Which, side note, we are back on Satellite 5, although it is called the Game Station now. It's 100
Hmm.
years later than where we were in the long game. But the doctor finds out in this episode that essentially something's happening, something's going down.
I wish they played on that idea a bit more because basically what we find out is that the actions that the doctor took in the long game led to Earth being even worse off than when he left it, to Satellite 5 being way worse than when he left it. It is now controlled by worse entities. And I just wish they kind of delved into that idea a little bit more, that this is all kind of the doctor's doing. It's kind of his fault. He thought he was making things better back in the long game, and then it all just ended up being worse.
Yeah, but what is interesting is that the evil entities that are in true control of this game station, they were the ones who installed the Jagrafast back in the long game. So technically, yes, it's the doctor's fault, but technically it's this evil one's fault even more, right? I guess we don't even have to say entities. If you've watched Bad Wolf, you know who we're talking about. We're talking about the Daleks.
Yes.
um So we find out, I don't remember when, but we do find out that the Daleks are the ones that installed the Jagrafast back in the long game 100 years prior. So yes, Nine destroyed the Jagrafast. He shut down Satellite 5, which then did make the economy and government collapse and kind of led to the game station as it was where they all are in Battle Wolf. But the Daleks were the ones playing the true long game, so are the Daleks at fault or is the Doctor? Because the Daleks have been watching Earth for centuries, it said.
Yeah, it's definitely more of the Dalek's fault than the doctor.
Yeah,
You make a good point. It's interesting to think about. They in the episode it says that they had a hand and they were watching Earth for centuries, which is just so crazy and creepy to think about.
like the thought of the Daleks of all species, the Daleks, no.
I know.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Going back to the games, I thought it was so funny when the android was calling Rose unemployed.
It was really, really funny. And Rose, oh my gosh, she's like immediately is like, "Where's the doctor?" And then she's like,
Hmm.
"Oh my gosh, this is the weakest link." And then she just starts laughing really hard. Why do you think she was laughing? Because I can't come
I
to a
know.
conclusion.
I was going to ask you what you thought about the laughing. I don't really know why she was laughing, why they made that choice. I guess she just thought it was so crazy and before she realized what was actually going on.
I don't know. Yeah, I would be really curious. I don't know if Russell ever commented on that or not.
Rose is also the first one to pick up on what was going on, that it meant that she was supposed to be here, that someone was trying to get her to the game station. And then shortly later the doctor realizes it when he gets out of the big brother house and he sees the sign, but Rose was the first one to put it all together, kind of.
She was. You were so right. And I love that we get a clip of just all the flashbacks of all the
Me
Bad Wolf
too.
missions in series 1.
Mhm.
Going back to the Big Brother house, I just need to say it never fails to crack me up how over all of it 9 is. He's
I
sitting on the
know.
couch, barely able to be still. He's just, like, waiting. He doesn't know why exactly he's there, and he's just, like, he wants to get out, and when I don't remember her name, I wanna say her name started with a C.
Oh, I don't remember it either.
Ugh, but she got evicted, and the doctor was all giddy, and, like, Linda with a Y, and the guy in there was like, "Why are like, you're insane." And
They're all
then
offended.
yeah, they're all greatly offended, but, like, the whole interaction, I just it's iconic, it's really funny, and then it gets into a very different mood once we all as viewers realize that everyone who's evicted gets disintegrated, or so we think, until we realize later in this episode that actually no, they didn't get disintegrated, it was just a trans mapping.
Yes, because once the doctor gets out of the Big Brother house, he and Jack find each other, and then they have to try to find Rose, and it leads to this really suspenseful moment. Rose is trying, it's like the final couple questions. It's just Rose and Roderick at the end. Jack and the doctor are trying to find her. It's such a suspenseful moment. You're on the edge of your seat. And it's also so unfair that Rose is stuck in this trivia game because all the questions are geared towards a society that's thousands and hundreds of years from her own society. So how is she able to know these answers? Though she does get a few right. So honestly, she did great in my opinion.
She did great for being stuck in there. Like, I would have frozen up, and can I just say, to this day, me and my mom all the time quote, "You are the weakest link, goodbye," all the time, and
You are
I
the
feel like
weakest
that
link.
going back a little, totally forgot to talk about where Jack ends up.
Yes, Jack ends up on this makeover show.
Very fitting for his character,
Yes.
and
He's having the time of his
okay,
life.
he's having the time of his life. Few parts are a little cringy, but honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, I always enjoy
Me
this part in
too.
this episode. It's just comical and, like, that comedy relief, and the androids just shading him and his fashion, and then, once they start threatening to turn him into a dog, or, wouldn't it be funny if he had no head? Which did you catch that?
Oh, you're so right. I didn't.
Um, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just funny, and then he pulls, like, his laser gun out of nowhere. Like, it's so ridiculous, and it's so Captain Jack, and
Mhm.
I love it so much, and his outfit is iconic in this episode. I'm not gonna not say
Uh,
that.
yeah, and you're right.
Thank you.
But I love when they finally are able to break into the weakest link game and they're trying to get Rose, and right as she's about to be reunited with the doctor, she gets
Ugh.
disintegrated, and it's one of the saddest moments. It's not so sad because we know of course she's okay a few minutes later, but the way uh, it's just Christopher Eccleston plays the moment so well. He's just silent. Like he kneels down, he's like touching the dust, thinking that's all that's left of her, thinking she's gone. Meanwhile, Jack is yelling at the producers, the game, whatever you want to call them. I want to call them game makers because clearly I'm thinking about the Hunger Games. um,
Controllers.
Controllers, producers, whatever.
Yeah.
It's and it's such a good scene. Him being like, "You killed her. Your stupid game killed her," and
Kinder.
the doctor just not being able to say anything, and just it's heartbreaking and so well done.
It's so well done. Let's just, like, ruminate in this moment for a minute, because the thought of Rose dying and the doctor watching it and not getting there in enough time is so insane, and as you mentioned, he goes silent, and then he is just broken. He is
Mhm.
broken, like, he is, like, paralyzed, he is, like, staring into space, he's tuning everything else out, like, he lost Rose, and it's just such an emotional moment, and then him and Jack and Lynda with a Y all get arrested and put into jail, and you just see he is pissed, he is broken, and he is not gonna let anyone get away with any of this, and I do love their jail breakout. It's a great moment that all 9 has to
Yes.
say to Jack is, "Ready?" And Jack is like, "Yep," and then they go and they make their way to the controller room where I don't even know what you would call her.
The controller.
It's like, okay, the controller is up on the wall, and the doctor, again, he is not happy, and he this doctor is so against guns, and for being so against guns, he embraces a gun pretty pretty
But I love
easily in
later
this after
on.
Rose.
Yes, but I love later on where he was like, I'm not I was never gonna shoot you, don't be ridiculous," and he
Oh,
just, like,
yeah.
throws the gun to, like, one of the guys and is like that's a really funny moment and very, very 9.
Yeah, I more meant that, like, we see in previous episodes and even in future episodes, he doesn't even want to touch a gun. So I was more just kind of making the point that in this episode, he's like, Rose is gone. I'm not going to use this gun, but I am going to hold it because I need to get to the bottom of this.
Mhm. You can also just in this episode see how much how close the doctor, Jack, and Rose are. Like the three of them
Yeah.
really care for each other. They're really bonded. When they get to the controller room, Jack is able to find the TARDIS and we get a moment he goes inside and he sees Rose's jacket. It's very reminiscent of a moment later on in the show. Let's not discuss. But it's very
I can't go
reminiscent.
there.
Right, it's yeah, no.
Same thought, though.
And and then he works it out that Rose wasn't disintegrated, merely transmitted, and the reaction he has, him saying,
Uh,
"Doctor, Rose is alive!" is like, it's imprinted in my brain, and their little hug, and so it's so good.
they're so cute. They're so cute about it, and I just love it. I love that moment so much.
And during this, there's a solar flare happening. And when the solar flare
Yeah.
happens, that is the one moment that the controller is able to talk to the doctor without the Daleks listening. So she tries to like warn him about what's going on. And then later, when the solar flare is over, she is so brave and she like gives him the coordinates, even though the Daleks are listening
Yeah.
and they immediately take her away. But she was able to help, and it, it's just such a good moment. And for being such like a short-lived character, I find her fascinating. She was kidnapped by the Daleks and just thrown up on this wall since she was 5 years old. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I would love a story, an episode, a mini episode, a short, anything to like get more of her backstory because it's
Mm-hmm.
just so tragic and she's just so fascinating to me.
Definitely. And then when she gets transmitted to the Dalek fleet, she says, "You may kill me, but I brought your greatest enemy. I brought your downfall." And it's just such a great moment.
It's such a great moment, but that moment kind of reminds me of a previous moment right before she's hit by the transmat beam, back when we thought she was going to be disintegrated in the weakest link. That moment is so heartbreaking because she starts yelling and shouting that, like, where's the doctor? She needs the doctor. The doctor can't be without her. The doctor would never leave her. And yeah, and
He
it's
wouldn't just
just an
leave me.
emotional moment.
It's so good. Makes me so
They care
emotional.
so much for each other. It's so good. But the scream I scrumped when I saw the Daleks for the first time, like that first reveal, the first time I watched it, literally screamed. Like,
The music, the
insane.
reveal, their reactions is so good, and you just see all those ships. So good.
It's so good, and the expression on Nine's face and the way Christopher Eccleston acted with the Dalek reveal every time gets me. Like, he's terrified, he's scared, but he is also so, so angry.
One of his best moments is the end of this
Mhm.
episode, and he's like, "No, I'm not gonna lose. I'm going to save Rose Tyler. I'm going to rescue her from the middle of the Dalek fleet, and then I'm going to wipe every stinking one of you out of the sky." It's such a good moment. I just love him saying he's going to save Rose and defeat the Daleks and be like, "No, I am going to win." It's just, and the
Yeah.
way the music swells, the way Rose watches him say that, it's all so amazing.
It's so amazing, and then the Daleks respond to him, and they're like, "You have no plans, no weapons. Basically, how can you do that?" And the Doctor's like, "Isn't that what scares you?"
Doesn't that scare you to death? Oh, so good.
Gagged. And then he tells Rose, "Rose Tyler, I'm coming to rescue you."
I know. I just love that moment. Like, Rose, yeah, doctor, I'm coming to save you. And it's just so good.
Yeah. But, like, immediately after saying that, like, the screen that they were, like, communicating through closes, and then all the dogs just turn around and leave Rose behind. So, luckily, Rose is alive and not exterminated. But can you just imagine waiting on the doctor? You believe in the doctor, but at the same time, you're literally stranded on a Dalek fleet. Like, I'm sorry, that's so wild.
I know they could have just like turned around right there and exterminated her, but she got lucky, I guess.
Needed her. Well,
Yeah,
they knew that they needed her because she was
true.
technically the hostage and bargaining chip.
Very true.
But yeah, it's a wild thought. I do have a few random things in my notes that we didn't cover that I want to bring up, and it's kind of sprinkled throughout the episode, so it's a little
I'm
random.
ready.
But okay, two things. One, Nine tells Linda with a Y, and you know, I'll just leave it at this. I won't say much more because we still have parting of the ways. But he
Hmm.
says, "Stay with me. I'll keep you alive."
I know.
And then the next thing is right as like him and Linda with a Y are exiting the Big Brother house and trying to find Jack and Rose and all of that. Nine says, "Believe it or not, I'm after a quiet life." Boy, where? Since when? You can't keep still in a Big Brother house. Like, what do you mean, quiet life? Like, I know, King. I know you. You would like that life, but there's no way you would enjoy that life.
Yeah, the doctor, he's I I thought that line was funny. He's like, "I'm just trying to travel. I'm not trying to find any trouble." And I'm like, "No, I think you are actually. I
I think
think
you are.
you are trying to find trouble."
I think that's what you've always been after.
Mhm.
And that's not a bad thing. It's just so funny.
It is funny.
Also, the ongoing gag of Jack saying hi and the doctor yelling at him to stop flirting.
Yes. So good. Ugh. And when
It's
they
so
like
good.
pick that up in Utopia, it's just my favorite.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to talk about that moment in Utopia and
Mhm.
all of Utopia. Top one of the
Oh,
top Doctor Who episodes ever.
definitely. I can't wait. Ugh.
Yeah, that's in series 3. We have we have a little ways to go, but we will get there, guys. We will get there, and I'm
We
so excited. But back to this episode, there's just like so many wonderful things in this episode that were so well done. The acting is great. The stakes are high. The side characters are so amazing. And the cliffhanger with Rose on the Dalek fleet. wild and really scary.
Definitely. I wanted to say the with all the producers, controllers, whatever, in the game station, it really reminded me of A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the movie, when we're watching
Yeah.
all the mentors watch the game. And it just all the Hunger Games connections. Susan Collins, are you a Doctor Who fan? Let us know.
Yeah, Suzanne Collins, please
Right in.
right in, girly. Yeah, no, that is so true. You're so right. It is very reminiscent of that. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, if you don't know, is the prequel to the Hunger Games. So yeah, there are similar concepts. Also, Archive 6 having the TARDIS and it being to shut off to everyone until Jack comes. Such a great moment.
I
And
know. Kind
I
of
know we
weird though
already talked ab
that
go ahead.
the kind of weird though that that's where the TARDIS ended up. Like, wouldn't the Daleks want
Yeah,
to have the TARDIS on their ship?
you're right. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. Or maybe actually no. I was gonna say something, but then I'm like, that doesn't really make any sense. And I know you already talked about it and we already talked about it, but I just want to emphasize the fact that the TARDIS is the one that figured out about the transmat beam
Mm-hmm.
and showed Jack. And I just love
Ugh.
the TARDIS's relationship with Rose.
Oh, me too. And we'll have a lot more to talk about next week in the parting of
Yeah,
the ways. The waves? The waves.
the ways.
The ways. I don't know. My brain's not working anymore.
It's okay. Are you ready for some reviews?
I'm so ready.
So, Digital Spy's Duck Hogan had a positive reaction to Bad Wolf. He praised Eccleston, the parodies, and the Susanna and Trini robots. Alistair Wilkins of IO9 praised the mad energy to the finale and Eccleston's emotion over losing Rose. However, he was critical of the popular culture references, feeling it would not age well, and he could not find a coherent satirical point in their inclusion, which is
How
so
do you
wild because
think those references aged? Especially as an American viewer, we don't really have the weakest link here.
yeah, we don't have the weakest link. We do have Big Brother, and we do have a
Mhm.
lot of reality game shows. So I feel like those two aspects very much have aged pretty well. The weakest link, not so much, because it's not so much an American thing. But I would feel for a Doctor Who episode that premiered in 2005 that has pop culture references. It's aged pretty well in my opinion.
I
19 years
agree.
later.
And you don't need to be like, "Oh my gosh, it's Davina McCall or it's Anna,"
Yeah,
like to get it. You understand what's going on. And yeah, even if you've never seen the weakest link, which I think Doctor Who is the only reason I know about the weakest link.
same,
Um
same.
Yeah, that and Phil Lester once was on the show. Um, but where was I going with this? Oh, but
I
you get what they're going for. You understand the
yeah.
game and what's happening.
Also, like the whole I know we talked about this, but the whole like killer game aspect of a reality show, that's something we've been seeing a lot in
Hmm.
fiction. And so that part too has aged
Yeah, if they
pretty
made this
pretty
episode
well.
today, I think people would be like, "Oh my gosh, it's so good," because
Yeah.
now this concept is really popular and
Yeah, I agree. Um Also, SFX gave Bad Wolf a score of 9 out of 10, calling the two-parter Russell T Davies' finest work this season. They praised the humorous parodies and the reveal of the Daleks, and the episode's cliffhanger has been singled out by critics. It was listed by Charlie Jane Andrews of IO9 among the greatest cliffhangers of the program.
ooh.
What's your opinion? Do you think
I'm
it's
trying
a
to
good
think
cliffhanger?
of future cliffhangers. And I'm really
I feel
trying.
like
It's hard because so many of these episodes I just watch one right after the other, so the cliffhangers don't see. Oh,
yeah.
you know what's a good cliffhanger? Utopia has a really good cliffhanger.
I would probably rate that cliffhanger above Bad Wolf
Hmm.
because of what transpires, but Bad Wolf is very close behind.
Yeah,
That
I
is a
think this is
really
a
good
great.
example.
Yeah, this is a great cliffhanger, but I do think there's better ones further down the line.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So that concludes my review portion, and it concludes this episode talking about Bad Wolf. And next week, we talk Parting of the Ways.
Uh, I'm not ready.
I'm not ready either. I'm gonna be watching the episode tonight. So,
Me too.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna be an emotional night, but
it is.
I am excited to talk about it.
Yes. Well, as always, thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to email us, tell us what you think about this episode, all your thoughts, all your opinions, all your hot takes. We want to hear them. So you can email us at
timeywimePod@gmail.com and follow us at timeywimePod on Instagram.
and a Timey Wimey Pod on TikTok.
And with all of that said, we will talk to you guys in our next episode and let me know if I should release some of my fan edits that have in
Yes.
archives.
Release the edits.
Okay, I might. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys.